Welcome to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast, where we talk all things Panther City Lacrosse Club. Now here are your hosts, Nicholas and Andy.
Well, it was Panther City's one and only doubleheader weekend this year. It was on Friday and on Saturday, started in Las Vegas, ended at home against the Colorado Mammoth. And we get to go over both of them, both games today on our podcast. Welcome again, everybody. This is the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast. I am once again Nicholas, joined by, we'll say, the artist formerly known as Andrew. Andy.
Yes. Hello.
And we're gonna dive right in. This was definitely the busiest weekend that Panther City is gonna have for the year. As we talked about in previous shows, each team usually has at least one doubleheader at some point during the year, just to kind of help the pacing of the year. And Panther City was the second week of the year, so they got the luck of the draw. The first one was Friday night, and it was the inaugural home game for the Las Vegas Desert Dogs in Las Vegas. Definitely a lot more, like I said before, a lot new eyes on this game, just because it was on ESPN2. It was a highlighted game of the week. And not only that, but when you have ownership with the likes of, Steve Nash and Wayne Gretzky in the house, that's definitely going to get some people watching. So that was their biggest spotlight so far. And honestly, I think they did a great job. And we'll go over the whole game here. But starting off, Andy, you got to see a little bit of the game too. What was your thoughts about just Las Vegas's home atmosphere when you saw it?
No, it was excellent, and it was cool just seeing the beginning of it, where they gave the owners the key to not the city of Las Vegas, but to the Las Vegas Strip. So a little bit of Vegas's personality shining. You could tell the crowd was pumped up. Panther City got booed a lot, which is great. Love playing the villain like that.
Right, and obviously we were looking to kind of spoil their home game.
Right.
I was thinking about even watching that, and as you said that, last season it was so funny. We would boo like opposing teams coming in, and I was just I'm always like the realistic fan, so I'm like, we don't even know these people. We haven't even gone against
Yeah.
them. Why are we booing?
Yeah, don't give them extra motivation.
Right. But no, yes, I will definitely say watching that game on ESPN2 especially, it just had a really big feel to it, had a good crowd. I was actually, semi-jealous for a second there. No, you have to remember, Las Vegas is a hot town right now. And again, when you have high profile ownership, in the building, starting off the game, you're going to get a good crowd. You're going to get a lot of people kind of hyped up for it. So that was really cool to see. But yeah, so the game started. Everybody was, really excited to be there. And I don't think the game started as everybody thought it would. It was very, very defensive, I would say. The first quarter, not a whole lot of action. Well, there was a lot of action, but there wasn't a whole lot of scoring to go along with that action. The defense really controlled the pace of the game right out the bat. In fact, Damoud, again, you can't say enough about him. He showed up in the second half on the first game of the season, and then he picked up right where he left off. He didn't allow a single goal in that first quarter, and he was just rearing and ready to go for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really set the tone for at least the first three quarters. Just, obviously Vegas wanted to show up for their home fans, and we wanted to keep our momentum going, especially knowing that this was the first night of a back-to-back. So thankfully, the only goals that were scored in that first quarter were for us. I do think Vegas probably felt some jitters, I guess, maybe being in front of their home crowd for the first time, because it seemed like they had a lot of penalties in that game, and we took advantage early on. Our first goal was off of a power play,
Mm-hmm.
and then throughout the game, it seemed like almost every quarter they'd send someone to, what did the announcers call it, the sin box?
The sin box, yeah, and obviously, that's a good play on words for Sin City for Las Vegas, but they're definitely going to probably keep that trying to go throughout the year. But interesting to talk about just defense, even from the Las Vegas side. So, Kells, who is the goalie who came in at the end of the first game and did really good. He was actually the one who started for this game, and again, you can't really ask for much more than what he did, especially at the beginning of the game. When you keep a team to 2 goals, I mean, you're really doing a good job as a goalie. You're really doing your job and setting the tone. It's just unfortunately the offense didn't keep up with that same tone. And I was kind of glad to see him get some playing time because, again, seeing a new team still finding their identity and getting to play like that and kind of fighting for that position was really cool from my end.
Yeah, I do think that Panther City is lucky that they played Vegas early on in the season. Kind of like how teams may have been lucky when they played Panther City early on last season, before the offense is really clicking and they're still kind of making some simple mistakes here and there.
Yeah, and so yeah, they're definitely, you can definitely tell that as games go on, they're getting that more experience, that more camaraderie together, and they're starting to understand each other's how to work with each other on every play, offense and defense. The biggest highlight, of course, in the first quarter, though, Will Malcolm getting his goal. He actually hit 100 career points with his goal in the first quarter. You can't say enough about him. He's what I believe in his second season with Panther City, and he's definitely coming up to be, the main star of that team.
Indeed.
But yeah, so I mean, the end of the first, it was 2-0. Second one, the one of the first notes that I mentioned in there or that I saw, Phil Caputo, he got hurt in the first game. He was able to come back for this one. He got hurt again. He had to leave for about a quarter. It was kind of
Yeah,
weird. And again, he's a really big player, but I don't. I really hope this isn't like a telling sign for the season for him. I hope he can stay healthy.
yeah, that was a bit scary because I know his helmet came off and everything,
Hmm.
and you could just tell. Normally, he'll try to like stay in and kind of see if he can still get involved in a play, or maybe even get a few licks in himself. But yeah,
Right.
this time he just kind of walked right off, and the ref just tossed the helmet back to the bench area.
Right, and you can always tell when like there's an injury that actually hurts and one that just kind of pisses them off. But I hope he can keep healthy throughout the year because he's definitely a big part of that offense.
Right.
But yeah, the offense actually really got going again in the second quarter. Tony Malcolm got a goal, so the
Yep.
Malcolm brothers really clicking in that first half. I mean, that's really kind of the only notes for the second quarter. Again, the first half, again, defense, 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 defense. I mean, at halftime it was 4-1 Panther City. Las Vegas couldn't get things going offensively, but even Panther City, again, you're keeping them to 4 goals in a box lacrosse game. I mean, you can't really ask for a whole lot more from your goalie from Las Vegas side, but I hope this is a good sign for defense for this year for Panther City.
Indeed.
But yeah, so the end of the first half, 4-1. At the beginning of the third quarter, and this is something I feel like this is going to be a thing that we're going to talk about every game, face-offs. I don't know if it's something that we will continue to talk about and it'll get better. I don't know if it's a thing that we're going to continue to talk about and it'll get worse. Tyler Burton, great guy, I'm sure, but my gosh, he was still losing a lot of the face-offs in Las Vegas, and that was obviously good for Las Vegas, but from our side, it's like, come on.
Yeah, we certainly got lucky in that. Even when they did win the faceoffs, thankfully their offense was discombobulated, or our defense was disruptive enough to where they couldn't really get in a flow. But it is a bit disheartening to see that right off the bat, that we're going to. I think we only won. I think we won 40% of them. Yeah, 6 out of 15 total.
Yeah.
So that's not really a whole lot of face-offs in the game. Kind of a small sample size, but you definitely want to win at least 50% of them.
Right, and like we've said before, it kind of sets a tone especially when you're winning the majority of your face-offs, and you can kind of get your team getting in that groove early. So, but yeah, face-offs were still a problem. They actually scored a couple extra points, so defense was still the main story in the third quarter, just because we didn't score any, but they scored two. They were starting to catch up. You could definitely get the feeling or the energy through the TV, especially, that Las Vegas was definitely really wanting to put on a good show for their home crowd. Their field looked nice, and where they play, which I was incorrect. They're not actually playing in the same place as the Golden Knights. They're playing in somewhere else. I forget where they mentioned they're playing,
Hmm.
um, but it's just it's a smaller place, but at the same time it looks. Oh, Michelob Ultra Arena. That's what it's called. But I think it makes the space look bigger. It definitely conforms to box lacrosse a little bit more because it makes it feel, everybody's a little bit closer together. It makes the energy bounce off the walls a little bit more. So, but yeah, so obviously, the home crowd was getting a good sense of that in the third quarter. They were really doing good. But when we were talking about our predictions for this game, the one thing I definitely wanted to get the point across was at the end of games, especially when you're going against a new team and they're trying to figure things out, eventually the team that does have things a little bit more figured out will eventually start to pull away. Almost like the better team will eventually find a way to win. And that's what started to happen in the fourth. I mean, our defense stayed to the course and they did a really good job, again, allowing no goals in the fourth quarter, but our offense finally started getting in the groove of things. I
Right.
mean, we talked about there's offense starting to get things going. This was actually Donville, the rookie.
Yes, Jonathan Donville's first goal.
He got his first goal in the fourth.
Right.
Yeah, he was doing great. Daymood was playing lights out. He was, blocking everything. And we went on a 5-0 score run, and it was great. It was good energy for us. Unfortunately, I think it kind of pissed Las Vegas off.
I think their theory was like, well, if we're not gonna once it got to the point that they thought, okay, well, if we're gonna lose this game, we're gonna go down swinging, literally.
Literally going down swinging with like, what was it, less than 5 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah, there must have been at least three instances of fisticuffs or going in that
Right.
direction.
And two players, I think one player from each team
Yeah,
got
yeah.
kicked out.
Burton got kicked out. I don't remember the guy he was fighting with, but um,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
It was just like they got kicked out and then there was like major penalty 5 minutes and then yeah, I mean at that point, and I think we scored again during one of those power plays because of that, but
Hmm.
yeah, they literally went down fighting,
Hmm.
which is again, I mean, hats off to Las Vegas. It's a good city. It's a good way to get lacrosse into the limelight and get more eyes on it. So I think they'll be good in the long run. Obviously, they still have a lot to work out, just like we did in the first year.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we ended up winning that game 9-3. So obviously, with Panther City, getting the win in Las Vegas, we'll go over, what would you say are the top stats of the game for Las Vegas?
I really felt it was all about defense. Las Vegas only had 33 shots on goal, which is a pretty low number, all things considered. So not only hats off to Nick Damu, but hats off to all the defenders that made life miserable for the Desert Dogs out there. Tyler Burton, Matthew Hosick, Nate Wade, they all did a great job challenging every single possession that the Desert Dogs had.
Well, cool. I mean, well, we'll go right into it. Who is your, or what is your cool cat play of the game for Las Vegas?
I actually chose one, and I don't want to call it call it garbage time, but I really enjoyed two of the fourth quarter goals. There was one Cameron Grenier took to the middle, and he got an assist from Phil Caputo, who's hanging out basically to the right side of the goalie, and he just flung that pass right to Wayne Grenier, and it went. He sailed it straight past the goalie. So I really
Nice.
enjoyed that one. And then there was one shortly after that. I think it was honestly right after all the kind of conflicts or the little semi fights happened where Dean Farrell took it down. They had a empty net because uh, Las Vegas was trying to get at least another goal and just to see what happened,
Yeah.
make it a bit more spectacle. But so it was basically a transition opportunity. He ran all the way down. The that Las Vegas could do. One of their other probably transition. It might have even been a forward. He was just standing in the goal trying to make himself look as big as he could, but the guy's not wearing goalie pads, so
Yeah.
he just yeah, Farrell just flung it past this
He's
you know
like,
not
I mean, he was trying to be as goalie could be without having goalie stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, so that was pretty amusing. Between that and the Wing Grenier play, those were my two favorites of the game.
Yeah, for me, play of the game. I mean, it's just right in the first. Will Malcolm getting his 100th goal. I mean, he really set the tone. I mean, again, there wasn't a whole lot of offense in the first three quarters, but of course, Will Malcolm coming out there and getting his 100th goal of his career, that was pretty exciting. As far as so we'll go ahead and go with our Big Cat players of the game. Who do you have for your Big Cat player of the game for this one?
I'm gonna sound like a broken record with this, but I'm choosing Nick Damude and the entire defense.
There you go. Not just one, the whole defense.
Yeah, they all played great out there. Obviously, Chad Cummings is the captain of the ship, but everyone that got in there did a great job.
Yeah, no, and again, I mean, it was a good defensive game for them. For me, eh, I'm gonna go with Malcolm, Tony Malcolm, because
Hmm.
he was just his brother gets the highlights, but I think he was a great part of that especially during that 5-0 run that got in there. He actually had his goal earlier, helped get the offense going early on. So, he's not the popular one, but I'll go with Tony Malcolm as my Big Cat player of the game.
No, I still like it. It's always fun to see the transition guys and defensive guys get into the action.
Yeah. Started off really strong. Obviously, starting the year off 2-0, we want to win every game. We know we're not going to win every game, but we definitely knew that having one game after the other was going to be a tough test. And if we could come out even, ahead a little bit, obviously, if we could win both the games, that was a good start. And I was very happy to watch that game. But then, of course, they had to turn around the next day. So that was Friday night. Saturday night, they were back home in Texas, in Fort Worth at Dickies Arena. Finally, I got a chance to go to a home game this year. I was waiting. I was like, I can't wait to get there. But yeah, they were back home against Colorado Mammoth, the defending champions. Side note, they did have to leave Las Vegas at like 5:30 in the morning. I understand they're obviously athletes and they have to deal with this a lot, but man, that's just a quick turnaround. So hats off to them. But yeah, they were back in town that next morning. They were posting updates on their Instagram at like 8 a.m. Like, oh, hey, we just got back into town. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you people? But yeah, home game next night, and it was a good crowd. There was actually, I told you there was, what was the over under 20 people rooting for Colorado Mammoth. I saw a good group across the way behind
Yeah,
the bench. There was a couple. There was a kid and her dad right behind us with a Colorado Mammoth sign, and so there was definitely some supporters out there. It was a good game to watch. You could definitely tell that it was a hard weekend for them. So the defending champions coming in, they had a lot to prove. Obviously their first game against Saskatchewan didn't go the way they planned. Obviously they haven't been home yet. They're waiting to get back and have at least a home game at some point. But yeah, the first quarter started. Energy was high. Unfortunately, like it was just felt. I don't know what's the right word I'm looking for. It felt slow, I guess.
yeah. I feel like we had a lot of sloppy play, like just kind of routine passes that didn't quite hit the mark. I think I'd say the effort was there, but the energy, they just couldn't summon the same amount of stamina or oomph that they had the previous night.
Right, and that's unfortunately what comes with a quick turnaround like that. And honestly, looking at like the lineup for that night, I mean, they weren't in. He wasn't in the starting lineup, but one of the rookies, Gaucher,
Yeah,
or
Matthew Gaucher.
yeah, Gaucher was in the line, not in the starting lineup, but he was active, and I felt like this was an opportunity for them to
Play some of the younger guys,
yeah,
when you
play some
say.
of the younger guys. So yeah, I mean the end of the first quarter and against Colorado, everything it was a slow start for us. The offense kind of had a hard time getting things going, but again, our defense showed up. I mean, they were ahead 2-1. So we didn't allow a whole lot of goals right off the bat. But yeah, it just kind of felt slow. It felt like they definitely needed something to get going. And in the second quarter, things started getting going. Not maybe not so much for us, but offense really started like picking up the pace, especially for Colorado. We tried to keep pace with them, but it's kind of hard. We had a lot of turnovers. I feel like in the second quarter, and again, we go back to it all the time. Face-offs. We had a couple face-offs that went our way, but overall, we had a hard
Yeah,
time getting it. Yeah.
yeah, it was I think we had a sub 40% face-off win rate in this game, 9 out of 25, so not even 40. And one thing that to kind of add insult to injury, Tyler Burton, our main face-off player, he suffered a what looked like a pretty bad injury in the first
Yeah.
quarter, and didn't return to the game. So I think it was Hossack that took them the rest of the game, and he didn't have much better luck.
Right. So, I mean, Tyler Burton, yeah, he got injured. I had that written down too in the first half. He got injured, and again, you don't know the severity of it, but I mean, when you have somebody limping off and literally going into a wheelchair straight to the back, I mean, you're like, oh my gosh. Well, definitely going to be out this game, but how much longer is he going to be out after that?
Yeah, hoping for the best. We
Yeah.
could definitely
So
use him.
obviously Hasek came out. He took over faceoffs. Still didn't really turn in our favor. And again, it was just faceoffs and turnovers. There was, there would be chances where we would be in transition, and you think something's gonna happen, and then they turn it over or they pass it, and it just doesn't connect. So it was hard to kind of get in the groove of things in that second quarter still. The second quarter ended. I mean, they were ahead 7-3. So obviously we got a few goals. They got a few more. Yeah, the second quarter just didn't go in our favor at all. And I
No.
and I think it definitely kind of was a hard time getting the groove going for especially that quick turnaround.
Nathan Grennan did have a nice little run there, and it came after his dad was actually in the audience that night, so he got a
Yeah.
nice standing ovation for his service in the, I think it was the Canadian Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to see Nate score a couple of goals right after that with his dad in the house. But beyond that, it was pretty rough sledding,
Yeah.
especially with Colorado building that lead up to 4.
Oh yeah, and so halftime happened for the most part. Coach TK he challenged them at the so I found out that he actually challenged Nick Dabood at the end of the first game, or at the
Right.
halftime of the first game. Was like, hey, you really need to step up, and he did. And I think this time he was really trying to just keep spirits high, because when you're down that much, it's hard to kind of keep things going. But yeah, so third quarter started, and we kept it close. I mean,
Hmm.
we actually, got some more goals. It seemed like they were more energized, I guess, what you could say. They were more lively,
Yeah,
at least. I mean, we only let them score one goal in the third, and then we scored two. So we cut it to a 3-point game. But again, I mean, it was just you know,
I'd
it,
almost compare it to a sugar rush in a sense, where you had that kind of quick burst of energy here and there, but afterwards it would just be a deflating letdown. Either there was an opportunity and they just missed the goal, or there was
mhm.
a turnover. And Colorado, they're a great team. They're the defending champs, so they would come right back and make us pay for it.
Right, and it was very rough. I mean, obviously, whenever you're at a game live, you have to try to keep the energy up from the crowd sense, just because you want to keep the energy up for the team. But it just kind of, yeah, like I said, it's almost like a sugar rush. Good things would happen, and then we'd slowly come down from that for a little bit.
Right.
But we did come back for the most part and keep it close to them, and I was really happy for that because from a fan standpoint, that's all you ask for. You ask for them to keep fighting and keep that going. You don't want a team to just kind of give up. And
Hmm.
that really happened in the fourth quarter because Colorado, started scoring points, and we were at that point, we were what, four down or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I even looked at you and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be over quick.
Mhm. But then
But
lo and behold, it was like within the span of less than 30 seconds, we scored two in a row,
yeah,
Caputo, then Dodds. And then Gaucher scored his first goal shortly after that.
yeah, no, and again, getting those young guys in there and getting them experience was, I think a plan probably they had in part due to a quick turnaround game like
Right.
this.
Yeah, you
You
might as
know,
well.
get the young people more experience and get them in there more. Um, but yeah, no, like I said, it was like, oh hey, we scored. Oh hey, we scored again, and now we're
Yeah.
getting in that groove, and we're like, yeah, this is gonna be good. Unfortunately, that all fell short. I mean, Colorado eventually did start pulling away. They scored again. I mean, the highlights I had from the fourth quarter is, you know, tiredness set in. I mean,
Hmm.
I think towards the end of the fourth, with like what, maybe 3 or 4 minutes left, we were only down by 2 goals, and I think it just finally everything that uh, came with travel and hard fought game on Friday, and then a hard fought game on Saturday just kind of came crashing down, and unfortunately Colorado started to pull away. They ended up winning 12-9. You wish you would have seen a win, but yeah, it is what it is, and honestly, I'm very happy that we came out of this weekend at least 1-1. It could have
Yes.
been
Hmm.
worse. It could have
Absolutely.
been 0-2, but I think we can look at everything in a positive way and say, hey, we're going into our next game ahead overall in standings at 2-1.
Yeah. And I'm especially thankful that the game in Las Vegas on Friday night didn't go into overtime or, well, I guess just result in a close loss,
Mhm.
because then not only would you have not won that game, but then you'd probably face the prospect of, okay, not only did you lose that, but everyone's going to be tired for this next one. So,
Right.
so all things considered, best case scenario, two wins, but this alternative isn't too bad.
Yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, losing to Colorado, losing to the last year's champions, you can kind of again pull some positives from that. Andy, what do you have as far as our top stats of that game?
Well, we did get 12 more shots on goal. However, we could not convert them. So the possessions were there, but again, the sloppy play, whether it be turnovers or, people, they might have just not had the extra strength or energy to have some of those crisp shots that we saw in the first two games against Las Vegas. So I think that really played a part in it. Nick Damude, he was bound to regress a little bit after his outstanding game on Friday night. So it's just kind of a melting pot of kind of unfortunate things that created the situation.
Yeah, and actually at the end of the game, they pulled Nick Damude. They gave McLeod a little bit of playing time, only for a few minutes. He had two
Hmm.
saves, but it was a little bit of experience for the backup goalie, which was nice. So
Right.
yeah, no, like I said, it was just a combination of things I think that led to the end of the game. As far as the game overall, I mean, what was your Cool Cat play of the game?
I actually really liked, as bad as that second quarter was, I really enjoyed it when Nathan Grennan was able to score two quick goals in a row. That really kind of got me into it, as fleeting as that was.
Right, right. Yeah, no, for
And
me, I mean, it's always going to be Grennan. I mean, again, I think he's more the heart of the team than a lot of people give him credit for. Obviously, Malcolm is going to be like your top scorer and your top like face of the place, but For me, Grinnon's just always going to be my guy. So yeah, no, he was getting those goals, even getting that goal earlier on with after they had just talked about his dad. I mean,
Mhm.
that was just kind of a cool moment to see. Well, and as far as your big cat player of the game, I know it was a loss, but we still have cool cat or our big cat players of the game. So who do you have as your player of the game?
I chose the rookie, Matthew Gaucher. I don't remember, was this his first game or did he play in the Vegas one?
This was his first game. This was his
Yeah,
first
his
like actual playing time.
okay, yeah, and with that, he had a pretty good showing. He 5 points overall. He had the one goal in the fourth. He had 4 assists, 7 shots on goal, and picked up a couple loose balls as well. Had a few turnovers here and there, but he that wasn't really unique to him in that game. So we'll give him a pass there.
Yeah, no, and you definitely took mine. Mine is definitely Gaucher as well. He played well. He had a lot of assists. He got obviously got had a goal. Uh, when you can put in a rookie like that who maybe and you have to remember these a lot of these rookies they don't play box lacrosse. They play field lacrosse. And
Hmm.
so coming from that, it's a little bit of a not too much of a culture shock, but it definitely has different feeling to it.
Right.
And for him to kind of adjust in there and be able to make that big of a difference and have that much of an effort on there really speaks, you know, really speaks for him. And I'm glad he's on our team, and I'm glad he seems like he has a good bright future with us. So. Well, cool. Well, we're gonna, wrap this up. I mean, unfortunately, we did go 1-1 over the weekend. We always hope for a win every game, but couldn't get it this time. Next game won't be until New Year's Eve actually, and we'll go over that in our next episode. We're gonna go against Saskatchewan Rush and talk about the New Year's Eve game and just what it means, our expectations, and also what we expect from that game. Also, maybe a little bit of our New Year's resolutions for Panther City. But once again, thanks again for listening. I am Nicholas,
I am the artist currently known as Andy.
currently known as Andy, and thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.
All right, cheers.